Hello all sentient beings and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk all news, comics, and media related to the... On this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode, we review Transformers Lost Light issue 24. We learn the titles for Transformers Cyberverse episodes 11 through 14, and we listen to your voicemails in today's feedback segment. Today is Friday, October 12th, 2018, and this is episode 98 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that's caught in a causal time loop. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Yusuf, better known as Yoshi.
Yeah, oh God, I feel more sick than I did on Wednesday when we recorded the other show.
Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how you doing?
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Hey, I feel fine. Let's talk Transformers.
I hate you.
I know.
All right. We start off, as always, talking about donations, but unfortunately no new ones this week. But thank you to everyone who continues to donate. We appreciate it. Congratulations to the winners of our You Don't Have to Go to Walmart G1 reissue contest from episode 298, so a couple days ago. So take a listen to that to find out who won. And we've got, we want to remind you again of our new Transmissions merchandise store at TeePublic. So, Jeremy, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it is now available to everyone. We've just got a number of, I think right now we have 3 things up there, but you can get stuff cheaper than the other store that we had and good quality stuff. And if you are a Donatreon, there's a code that gets you 20% off. And it appears to be 20% off anything at TeePublic. If it's just our stuff, then that's the only thing that we guarantee. There are some blackout dates and stuff, but there's a Patreon post and also a post in our Donatreons chat in Discord that has the code and like when it's not available. And then the code will change every month. So, check it out and, hope everyone gets to use it and enjoy it. And if you have ideas for other shirts or, mugs or anything, let us know. We'd be glad to work out new designs.
All right. So let's, move on and start off with some comics news. And the one news item we have is a little bit disappointing because there's no news from New York Comic Con. So IDW had their panel at New York Comic Con. They talked about a lot of neat stuff coming up for 2019, what they're doing with G.I. Joe, what they're doing with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a bunch of their other properties. And they did not talk about anything about Transformers. They mentioned the stuff that's currently coming out, the last few issues, ending the IDW Transformers continuity this month. But beyond that, nothing. No plans, no hints, no teases.
Charles?
Yes?
As somebody who's been to an IDW panel at a major comic convention, when you ask them about Transformers, all they do is tell you to read Transformers versus Visionaries.
Well, I mean, we can do that. That's not going to help. So.
Yeah, but I'm not wrong either. So,
yeah. So I mean, this kind of puts a damper on a little bit of optimism we had for next year because, I mean, this just pushes the timeline back as to when we'll see anything new from Transformers from IDW.
What this really means is we're going to have a lot more Cyberverse reviews coming up in 2019.
Did they mention anything like GoBots or anything?
Yes.
They mentioned GoBots, but they didn't have any images for it.
I thought they did. Didn't they show the image for issue 2?
I didn't. Maybe they did. I thought I was following Ant's TFU.info Twitter and. I thought he said they didn't have anything new.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nothing new.
So, yeah, it's If only we knew someone high up at IDW Publishing that we could ask directly about what's going on.
Maybe if somebody high up at IDW Publishing wants to submit some trade secrets to Deep Throating, and Deep Throating could tell us without anybody at IDW being able to be fingered as the man or woman, that can be arranged. Just email Daryl at transmissionspodcast.com.
Or take chalk and mark the mailbox outside of your house.
All right, so I guess with no comics news, let's get into our comic review.
Transmissions is powered by listeners like you. If you enjoy our shows and want to help support us, please visit transmissionspodcast.com/support to find out how to donate.
And this week we are doing Lost Light number 24. So this is Crucible, Part 6, A Spark Among Embers. Written by James Roberts, art by Brendan Cahill, colors by Joanna LaFuente, letters by Tom B. Long, editor David Marriott, publisher Greg Goldstein. This is the penultimate issue of Lost Light, so things are wrapping up pretty quickly. And I'll say for me, it was pretty satisfying. I think we might have some disagreements, but I enjoyed it. So, we have 3 covers. The cover A is Minimus Ambus busting out of, Ultra Magnus. It's like a Russian doll with the mini Minimus coming out of the bigger Minimus and coming out of Ultra Magnus. And that's art by Nick Roche with colors by Josh Burcham. Cover B is art by Jeff Sr. with colors by Josh Burcham. And this is Rung, giving a pose that is straight out of, the G1 UK comics. I believe this is issue 113 of the G1 UK comics, where Rodimus Prime was in the same pose where he was, putting a bounty on, was it Galvatron's head? I think it's that pose. It's that classic pose from that issue. Of course, issue 113 is an issue that is near and dear to James Roberts' heart. So, and retailer incentive cover is the line art for cover A by Nick Roche without the colors. So, Jeremy, which cover do you pick here?
I picked cover A. I really like it. I'm also not the biggest Jeff Sr. fan, like with these modern designs. So that pretty much just made it easy. And I really do like the kind of Russian nesting Magnuses.
Cool. Yoshi, which one are you picking?
I'm going to pick cover E or B, the Jeff Sr. cover, because I'm a fan of these designs. Can someone explain to me the logic in having 2 of these covers with a fucking Unicron logo and not on the incentive cover? And also explain to me why the Unicron logo is on here when Unicron has nothing to do with this fucking book.
It's a question for your good friend Tom B. Long, Yoshi.
Yeah, it's marketing, but I think none of the retailer incentives have been having the Unicron marking.
Retailer incentives are about the art.
Yeah, okay.
And Daryl, which cover are you picking?
Well, if you'll remember, back when the book came out, I bought 2 covers, cover A and B. But I think if I had to narrow it down, I would probably say that cover B, the Jeff Sr. cover, was my favorite out of the 2. It's just more colorful. Not to say that I don't like the Nick Roche one, but the Jeff Sr. one is just brighter, more optimistic.
All right. Well, we've got a split decision because I am going to pick the Nick Roche cover A as well. So I am a fan of Jeff Sr.'s work, but I just like the Nick Roche cover because I think it's evocative of what happens in this issue. So, but they are both great covers. All right. So let's get into and spoil the story here. On the bridge of the Lost Light, Rodimus, Megatron, and our heroes watch the battle against the Functionist Cybertron Planetbot monster Primus Rage. They have a plan to stop it. Rung, now revealed as the real Primus, will generate 12 new matrices, which they will open on 12 spark hotspots on the surface of Cybertron that have a direct connection to Vector Sigma at the planet's core. The energy released by the matrices will destroy the Functionist Council and shut down Cybertron's robot form. But Tailgates discovered a flaw. In Cybertron's giant Primus robot mode, the locations of the hotspots on the planet have shifted and are no longer aligned with Vector Sigma. For the plan to work, they must somehow get Cybertron back to planet mode. Before Rodimus can decide what to do next, Crankcase piloting the ship has to take evasive action. The Primus Planetbot has turned its attention on the Lost Light, and they've got to do some quick maneuvers to avoid being crushed in the grip of the monster's hand. Before the Lost Light is caught, they see a flash of light in space behind the Planetbot. The wormhole network, the Warren, has opened up, and Cybertron's mobile moon Luna 1 emerges from the portal. Piloted by Red Alert, Fortress Maximus, and Cerebros, they smash the moon directly onto the back of the Planetbot's neck. The moon ricochets off, mostly undamaged, but the impact causes Cybertron to involuntarily transform back into its original planet mode. Meanwhile, below decks, Chrome Dome and Rewind have accompanied Rung to his old office. Rung asks the pair to wait outside as he does what he needs to do. Chrome Dome and Rewind are concerned, but Rung assures them he'll be fine. With a final squeeze of their hands and his last act as a therapist, Rung tells them they need to learn to forgive themselves and each other. Rung enters his office and prepares to complete his purpose. Knowing this will be his final act, he first accesses and deletes all of his patient files, while reminiscing on his first meeting with his dear departed friend Skids. And then, Rung transforms into his alternate mode, which is now revealed to be a matrix generator. In a flash of light, he creates 12 matrices. Sometime later, Rodimus finds Chrome Dome and Rewind waiting outside. He asks if Rung is done, and they enter his office. The 12 matrices are there, but Rung is not. It seems the effort to create the matrices took everything from Rung. His body has disintegrated into decayed and inert Sentio Metallico dust. Now they can prepare for the final battle. Flame, now in command of the Grand Architect's forces, will send the Infinite troops to transport 12 teams to the 12 hotspots on the planet to open the matrices. They all have to be opened simultaneously in order to overload Vector Sigma and catch the Functionist Council unawares. But there's another problem. No one can open the matrices because they're all sealed with a morality lock, just like the original. None of the team is an actual prime or a chosen one, so it's unclear how any of them will be able to open their matrix. But there's no time to figure it out. They have to get in position before the Functionist Council can transform Cybertron back into the Primus Planetbot. So Rodimus starts handing out matrices. The teams of bots descend to the 12 hotspots on Cybertron. They are accompanied by the troops from the Grand Architect's army, but the Functionist Council's armies meet them at every location. The battle is fierce and desperate. At every location, the enemy closes in on Team Rodimus. Finally, everyone is in position, but they all have an open moment, as no one can open their matrix. At Nova Point, Rodimus and Megatron coordinate the attack, but they hear nothing but failure from every team. Rodimus doesn't understand why it's not working. Megatron offers a theory. Each bot needs to truly believe they're worthy in order to open their matrix. Megatron tells Rodimus to be the captain he was always meant to be and inspire his crew one last time. And he does. Rodimus tells his crew how proud he is of them and how they've succeeded and overcome all odds the only way they knew how, together. The enemy blasts through their last defenses at each hotspot, but it's too late. Every member of Team Rodimus, even Whirl, opens their matrix, setting off the chain reaction. But as Rodimus is about to open the last matrix, it's blasted out of his hands, along with his left hand. Megatron picks it up, but he still can't open it, even after his long road of redemption. He tosses it back to Rodimus, and grabbing the matrix in his right hand, he grips the other handle with his teeth and pulls. With all the matrices open, the energy is released. Vector Sigma pulses to life and obliterates the Functionist Council. The pulse wave released by the matrix energy extends to Luna 1 as well. and reignites the dormant sparks on its surface. Fortress Maximus calls Rodimus to ask if they see what's going on, and Rodimus responds that he sees it as well. From the surface of Cybertron, he looks up at Luna 1 and sees the illuminated sparks spell out a final message from Rung. Don't forget me. Later, everyone regroups on the Lost Light. Fortress Maximus tells Rodimus that he has to immediately send a transmission to Luna 1 to tell that Fortress Maximus to use the Necrobot's cloak as a map to travel through the Warren here. The Warren will transport them back in time, and when they arrive, they'll have to smash Luna 1 into the back of the Primus Planetbot's neck, which they will do because they already did. And everything's wrapped up in a nice little time loop. So Tailgate asks, is it over? They defeated the bad guys, finished the quest, and have a happy ending. So is this the end? Surprisingly, Swerve is the one who answers, no, there's still a little bit more to do. To be concluded in our final issue. So that is the end of Lost Light number 24. And yeah, I mean, for me, I think this was, Lost Light has been a character-driven story, and this continues that theme. I think, I still think the action throughout the book in terms of, this final battle, it's, the emphasis was more on, what's happening to each character, but I really enjoyed this, this feels like a good kind of wrap up to the quest. And then I think we'll get the epilogue in the final issue. I think Brendan Cahill's art was really nice. I really like his art style. I think it worked well, for this issue. And, I think, especially, Joanna LaFuente's coloring shines with all the special effects with the matrices, being opened. In the final pages. So I thought it was good. So, Daryl, what were your thoughts on this last issue? Or not the last issue, but this issue?
Well, I agree that the art was decent. Definitely not as cartoony as we've seen, recently. But, yeah, I don't know. There was some decent action in it, with the characters trying to hold their own spots, right, on the surface. I don't know. There was some parts of it that, I didn't really understand. I mean, first of all, Rung being a matrix generator, that's his whole function. Like, yes, he can do that now, but he didn't, I don't know. It seems like
he's Primus.
He's Primus. Yes, I understand that, right? But his entire function, the entire time he's been Rung, has been to generate matrices. I don't know. It seems that it's very convenient for this plot to have, now that we need him to be, something, he's a matrix generator. It's, I don't know. I don't particularly like that reveal. The other part was, that, what is it here at the end? You say that, the words being spelled out in the sparks is wrong, right? I don't, there was no line of dialogue that said that was Rung saying that.
Rung was always the one that was forgotten, and he was the one that made the matrices. So it just, that's how I took it when I read it.
Yeah. I mean, that was the reason that no one recognized that Rung was Primus was because, like, I guess they had the exposition, it was last issue or a couple issues ago that explained how he absorbed that blast from the moon that right. Erased everyone's memory.
Yes.
So no one could ever remember his name
as being Primus,
but also as being him. Like, no, throughout the whole series, it's always been a running joke that no one could ever remember Rung. And yeah, so I mean, and his last act to generate these matrices, and that's what caused the pulse wave to reignite everything. That's how I inferred that was Rung's final message.
I mean, I understand that you're inferring it. Jeremy's assuming it. I mean, a little bit more of a direct mention would have been nice. You know, I've always been the one that, you know, I don't want to have to remember, you know, 75 issues of a comic book to know exactly what's going on in every single issue. That's way too much to commit to one particular, you know, comic line. So, you know, if they had just mentioned, you know, something in here to say that, you know, oh, hey, look, you know, Rung must be sending us a message, right? Something like that. I'm sure it could be written way better than that. But it would have been nice, because I read this and I was like, who's sending this message? I don't know who this is. So I was confused by that. Also, they seem absolutely unfazed that Rung is dead, right? And he's gone, right? Mm-hmm. They go into the room, they see he's gone, and his room is filled with this dust, and there's 12 matrices there. Okay, well, pick them up, you know, get back to the group, and don't even mention that he's gone, right? Also, the rest of the cast starts dying, right? You know, I know you probably want to save a lot of that for the people that haven't read it yet or are going to read it, but like, there's a heavy body count in this issue. A lot of characters die, and a lot of them die very gruesomely. But none of it is even mentioned.
I don't think anyone actually dies, though. I think they're heavily damaged, but I don't think anyone actually dies. At least none of the main cast. It's
hard to tell, but it looks like Brainstorm's head is exploding.
Yeah.
Right?
And Whirl.
Ultra Magnus is, you know, he's blown apart. There's some kind of weird crunch or wunch when Minimus Ambus hits the ground.
Well, Brainstorm's head looks like it exploded, but when you look at when Nautica opens the Matrix, he's sitting up.
Oh, is he?
Behind her.
Yeah, he's right there. He looks like he's still alive.
So it was just a flesh wound.
And Minimus Ambus,
I'm going to
say, is unconscious. Like, he survived because he could eject himself out of his, you know, his other bodies.
Right.
Yeah, I think Whirl is really the only significant death.
I mean, even that, I don't know if he's dead. He lost his legs, but that's repairable.
Yeah.
But Rung is dead, right?
Yes, Rung is dead. Yes.
But it is never mentioned. Not one of the cast mentions where's Rung.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, they mourned him off panel.
I guess.
There was not
we'll
enough time for mourning.
Issue.
I guess. But, I mean, I don't know. I think
this is what the fact that I think there's a lot to cram into the 20 pages here, and I think maybe they're saving the kind of the epilogue stuff for the final issue. That's my guess.
I guess. I don't know. The character-driven stuff of this story has ruined the book for me. And I know that's the point of this book, but it's been turned up to 11, and it's ruined it for me. Anyway, rant over.
All right, Yoshi, what were your thoughts?
Well, Daryl and I agree more than we disagree. That's for fucking sure. So I felt like, for the first time in a long time, this Lost Light issue felt like a solid issue. Like, I got my $4 worth. And even though I had questions and puzzlement throughout it, it did feel like it was a solid beginning and end story, which was nice for a change. I also want to just go a little bit further than Daryl did. I like Brendan Cahill's art. And it was nice to have it on this book because from page 1 to page last, it was consistent. And that was a welcome change. You specifically told me to read this and I was dreading it for that. And I'm so glad that he was on this issue because it certainly helped me to get through it. Let's start with I want to ask a little bit more about this, signal. Don't forget about me on the planet. is it implied that this is just generated, or this is generated from the points that the matrices were opened?
So, I mean, this is where you have to have a remembrance of an issue from way back in More Than Meets the Eye. So when they first found Luna 1, the moon, and they first landed on Luna 1, there was a field of billions of sparks there that was already there. And when they landed on the planet, so at the time, people thought that, like, at the time, the first people to touch down on the planet were both Rung and Rodimus. And at the time, Rodimus had half of the Matrix with him. So people thought that the reason the sparks were ignited was because he had half the Matrix. But now we know the reason that they ignited was because Primus was there and he reignited the sparks. So everyone at this point knows that there are a field of dormant sparks on the surface of Luna 1, but for no one could get them to reactivate again. And so when this Matrix energy was released, that's what reactivated the sparks again.
Gotcha. I'm also going to side with Daryl and call bullshit on the making matrices, and that 12 is the magic number that kills somebody. Well, it felt like, and you gotta help me with this, Charles, because I really did try. It felt like once everybody got down onto the planet with the matrices, we were seeing existing couples and new couples, and I was under the impression a couple of them died. I got confused by that too, along with Daryl, but I was under the impression a couple of those couples didn't make it. And when I was reading it and I was feeling that way, all I could think was, Robert, you lost your right to play this card after the Cyclonus fake out. Like, you can't keep doing that. That doesn't work.
I didn't see any on page deaths.
You know, and I know it must have just been a one read through, feeling I got. Cause there's a lot of explosions happening on this, but as I'm flipping through the pages, I can't pinpoint any specific one. So I guess that whole rant is moot.
And I guess to answer your other point about the 12 matrices, I mean, I think it was just, it wasn't, 12 is not a magic number, but it's just that's what they established in the previous issue, was that, this plan was already set up in the previous issue that they needed to, it was a whole thing about, at first they were going to open 3 matrices because they needed to target the brain, spark, and transformation cog of, the Primus planet. Mm-hmm. But that would have destroyed the planet as well, and that would have killed all the Cybertronians who were still on the planet, who were just, innocent citizens. So the reason they wanted to do it this way is that they could deactivate Vector Sigma but still save the planet, and that was established in the previous issue.
Gotcha.
I think also it was more matrices than Rung had previously been able to make, in that, like, he knew doing it would kill him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. I also want to echo what Daryl said. There could have been a little mention of what the fuck happened to Rung. On the other hand, that particular one I can almost let slide because it seemed like there was such an urgency to get those and get the fuck off the ship. But there could have been also something with the "Don't Forget About Me" sign. Someone could have said something to just kind of point us in that direction. But all that aside, the consistent art is a fucking breath of fresh air. And, I did feel like it was a $4 book. It felt like a solid story from beginning to end, even though I missed a lot of key points, apparently. I did close it thinking, okay, that was solid.
All right. Jeremy, what were your thoughts?
I enjoyed the book. I got many of the references, and obviously read the "Don't Forget Me" thing the right way. I was surprised at what initially I thought also was a high body count, but then as I went on, I realized that it wasn't. But it is showing how, being Cybertronians, they can lose an arm and still go on. I don't know. I felt like this was, like you said, a satisfying kind of conclusion to a lot of the stories we've been getting, to the point where I'm really unsure what they're going to do in issue 25 and, how it's going to relate to the other books. It's, there's not really any questions out there that we're waiting to see, unless they somehow move this Cybertron over to, where the original Cybertron should be after Unicron devoured it, and, save the day. The art, I will agree with Yoshi. It was very consistent. I also like Brendan's art. The colors, particularly in the battle scenes, were, very, very vibrant, and, some really good work there. And yeah, I mean, I think the last couple issues have really been back in the good column for me. And, this is just continuing that.
All right. Yeah. I mean, for me, just to comment on the whole, the rung thing, I feel like the visual storytelling is, I thought was really well done. Like that big kind of panel with Don't Forget Me, I think it stands on its own. I think maybe having a bit of dialogue there might, clutter the moment there. I mean, at least that's how I felt. I felt it was the way it was designed was pretty well done, and I liked it that way. The other thing I wanted to comment on was the one page where they're opening the matrices, where like you have Thunderclash, Roller, Velocity, and First Aid, and you can see like as they're opening the matrix, each one on each panel, the opening is progressively wider, so it's a nice little progression. And then in the panel right below it, Nautica has her matrix completely open. So I just like that little effect. I think the visual storytelling was really well done throughout this issue, and I think it was, it's just having this art through the art and direction was really, really great. So, yeah. So, another thing I just wanted to, there was a couple of references. I think, I didn't go into details of Rodimus's speech, but, one part made it feel like, it reminded me of the Breakfast Club when he's talking about, an archivist, a retired neurosurgeon, a gunsmith, an archaeologist. It's a kind of similar cadence to the final letter in the Breakfast Club.
That speech he gave, I apologize for interrupting you. I hope it's okay.
Go ahead.
That speech he gave is part of the reason why I thought some people died, because his speech could be motivational at times, and then it was like, but we had a shitty ship and we shouldn't have made it. And what the fuck are we doing here? But we're awesome and we can get through that. It was just like an up and down. It wasn't go from nothing to full on feeling good about yourself. It was an up and down speech, I felt. And during the down parts, I guess, is when I thought people weren't making it.
Well, I mean, the point of the speech was to get people to the point where they could open their matrix.
I understand the point of the speech. I'm just saying the speech wasn't building somebody up from the ground and then ending on a high note. The speech itself had high points and low points throughout the whole thing. It wasn't a consistent rise. And like, no wonder Megatron couldn't open that thing.
Well, I'll disagree with you. I thought it was a consistent rise.
You should. I'm the least invested person here.
But I like the point that I think Megatron is just he's got too much oil on his hands. Even after his long journey of redemption, it doesn't make up for all the stuff he's done, or at least and it's really in his own mind. It's not it's not anyone else judging him. It's him judging himself. So
yeah,
I thought that was interesting. Also the spark field. So they name all 12 spark fields. Some of them were mentioned before, like, Rivets Field is where, Tailgate was born. Nova Point was where there was a big battle that was mentioned in previous issues. One, the Pious Pools, I think, that that was where Rung said he was from. The Eugenesis. So that's a callback to James Roberts' fan fiction novel that he wrote. So that was interesting. So I'm sure the wiki has detailed all of these little Sparkfield notes, but it's nice to have those little Easter eggs. And and Jeremy, I agree with you. That was my thought as well, that this Cybertron is going to be the new Cybertron that replaces the one that was eaten by Unicron. And that's probably where we'll end up in the final epilogue or whatever.
It'll be a Cybertron also that isn't scarred by, all that Civil War and everything.
Yep. And you've got a population of peaceful bots there too. So, and the Sparks on Luna 1 are all they're ready to have new life now too. So the future's so bright you got to wear shades. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for Lost Light number 24. So let's move on to some Transformers media news.
All right. In media news this week, not a lot. We got Cyberverse episodes 11 to 14 titles, descriptions, and air dates for Canada. So, yeah. Episode 11 is going to be called Sabotage. 12 will be called Teletran X. It's written right there.
Teletron X.
It's written
Teletron X.
It's written right there in Teletran. Episode.
And it's got 2 A's.
Yep. Episode 13 is going to be called Matrix of Leadership. And episode 14 will be called Siloed. So these are for Canada again, and we're looking at October 21st for 11, October 21st once again for 12, and October 28th for 13 and 14.
I think I figured it out. It's Teletran in Canada, Teletron in the US.
Oh.
So you guys are getting 2 episodes a day. We only get 1 episode a day here on Cartoon Network in the States.
But I think you guys started before us.
Yeah, but you're going to catch up pretty quickly. I mean, I don't think we're not getting the episode 14 by October 28th, given that it's October 6th and we got episode 6.
Oh. Well, my daughter and I watched 2 today. So I don't know what episodes they were, but I hadn't seen them yet. So might have been 7 and 8.
Was one of them Megatron is My Hero?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that they aired today.
Yeah. And then they aired, what was the other one they aired? Megatron is My Hero was the second one they aired. The first one was Whiteout?
There?
Yeah, the windblanket in the snow, yeah.
Yeah, they showed that last week. So you're gonna pass us next week.
Cool. All right, well that's it for media news. Odd. There's no movie news or anything.
Yep. I guess they didn't have anything to show after the trailers are out.
Yeah, no premieres or anything this week.
All right, let's move on to some convention news.
All right. One thing in convention news this week. TFCon has announced that Josh Perez is going to be attending. He is the artist and colorist behind many Transformers comics. He's most notably colorist on Robots in Disguise, pretty much almost all the covers that Alex Milne does. And he was the colorist on Transformers vs. ROM. So he will be in attendance all weekend. And I'm sure he will have commissions. Follow his Twitter, Dammit, and I'm sure he'll have information there. And I got a commission from him, was it last year or the year before? And it was great. So, you always hear about him as a colorist. He's also a good artist. Check him out. And that is it for convention news.
All right, let's finish up the show with some feedback.
And if you would like to leave us feedback, head on over to transmissionspodcast.com/feedback. There you will be presented with all kinds of ways you could submit us feedback, including voicemails. And Jeremy, I think you have 1, 2, or 18 to share with us.
Only 2.
Okay.
The first one we have here is from Dr. Pants.
Hello, Transmissions Podcast. It's Dr. Pants, and I've got a question for you. So we've seen the newest Bumblebee trailer, and we got to see that cool shot of Cybertron with all of our favorite G1 characters, or at least a lot of our favorite G1 characters, even some Tetra Jets. And at the same time, we're getting the War for Cybertron Siege line, and a lot of the same stuff that showed up in the trailer, the Tetra Jets, Shockwave, Soundwave spitting out Ravage as like a cassette, a more G1 looking Optimus Prime, like all this stuff. Do you think it's a coincidence that all of this stuff happens to be happening around the same time? Like, War for Cybertron is probably going to start in January, and the Bumblebee movie comes out in December. Do you think they added in this scene and those particular characters to coincide with the Generations toy line, or do you think it's purely coincidental? I think it might be a marketing thing where they're trying to cross over and maybe get everybody excited for all of it all together. But again, that might just be me, or maybe that's exactly what they're doing. I don't know. But I want to see what you guys thought. So thanks again, everybody, for everything, and I will talk to you again sometime.
No, that's a great question, Dr. Pants. Thank you. Do you want to start, Jeremy?
Sure. I'm in agreement. I think that the designs we see in Siege are going to be very similar to what we see in the Bumblebee movie on the Cybertron scenes. And I think it's just some synergy that, when they decided they were going to do those, Hasbro was probably like, use these designs. It'll play into our existing toy line. And that way they don't have to do a Bumblebee movie specific toy line, because we're seeing the Studio Series stuff and then the Siege stuff. I don't think we've seen a specific Bumblebee movie toy line like we have in the past.
Mm-hmm. And Daryl?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just it's one of those things that they've planned it out, and it's not exactly coincidence, because they knew that this movie wasn't it originally supposed to be out in the summer? Wasn't it like way back going to be a summer release?
I think it was always for Christmas this year.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't remember it being a summer release, because remember, Last Night was just last summer, so that would have only been a year.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so yeah, no, to have it be an absolute coincidence is, I can't imagine that, not with a conglomerate like Hasbro behind them. So there's some big time planning going on. Yeah. No, I think it's well planned out.
You agree, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we speculated about this when we discussed the trailer a couple episodes ago. I mean, even before seeing the Siege designs for the Decepticons, the War for Cybertron Siege designs, we speculated that the fact that they have this scene on Cybertron could tie into the War for Cybertron line. So I think, Dr. Pants, you're spot on that they coordinated this. I mean, you can tell, I mean, the fact that the Shockwave is so prominent here, and Shockwave was right there front and center in the trailer. Tetra Jets were front and center in the trailer. Soundwave and Ravage were in front and center in the trailer. I think, it's all connected. So yeah, definitely.
So I will also agree. I don't know, if it was Hasbro making the mandate, like, you got to put this in the movie, or it was the director's love for G1 saying we got to do this. But what I do have a little more faith in now is, because they've got all these toys that are most likely tied in with this, that little flashback scene we saw is significantly longer. It would kind of be asinine to create all those toys off a 2-minute flashback. Like, it's going to be a lot longer. I would hope it would be a lot longer if they're planning on selling toys based off of it. But thank you so much for your question, Dr. Pants. And Jeremy, are we on 17 or 18 now?
18.
18, okay.
Yeah. This is from Robin Hunt.
Hi, it's Robin Donator. Thanks for asking what kind of content I'd like. I'd really like an in-depth review about conventions. I know you do it for the ones that you attend, but what about for the ones that you can't get to? maybe ask some of your donators whether they'd like to review them. That'd be really interesting. The recent comic review for Optimus Prime was really good. I agree that it's really cartoony, which I don't mind, but it just doesn't fit the Optimus Prime title. So, thanks for bringing that out, because it's difficult sometimes to follow stuff that we enjoy. Cheers to Yoshi and Daryl for their advice on my comic ordering, on how to file them. So I questioned whatever happened to deep throating, and why isn't Russian Yoshi or Texas Yoshi on the podcast as much anymore. I really think you missed out on not including the German Charles as well. So lastly, thanks again, guys, and bring back Value Village. This is your donator, Robin, speaking. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you for that, Robin.
Excuse me, I have to remove several knives from my back.
That was you get an A+ for keeping track of all of our fucking catchphrases. The reason German Charles is never on the show is because German Charles is getting so much fucking play all the time. He just doesn't have time to be on it. He's always with the Fraulines. Every time we get to talk to him, it's in between a Fraulein. There's just no time to talk to the guy. Daryl is solely responsible for my alter egos. You're going to have to pay him more, I would imagine. Daryl, is that true?
No, I can come by and talk right now. What would you like to talk about?
Let's talk about German Charles for a minute.
Oh, I have met up with this German Charles. He's a good guy. We went out on double date.
Wild and
we
crazy
went on
guys.
double date and I went home alone. I don't know how it happened.
Well played.
This German Charles, he is smooth criminal. This is the word you use for him. He take my lady.
This is why we don't have more Russian Yoshi on the show.
Even with your 97% controlling share, you cannot control Russian Yoshi.
You
just
can't
comes out
stop
whenever he
what
wants.
the people want. The people get what the people want. And I love the donators.
Let's see. You also asked about deep throating. Well, Charles has the most interaction with deep throating. He still talks to her, but he's been under so much scrutiny since that big leak a couple of years ago that she doesn't want to push anything out that's going to point to him, because that got really ugly a couple of years ago. So she continues to prove to us that he's the real deal, but advises us not to share some of the shit or any of the shit that they've been sharing with us. So we just got to wait until we don't want to lose trust in deep throating and her abilities. So we just have to wait till he gives us the all clear. We're not going to compromise that source at all. So she is still with us and happy that we keep secrets as well as she would like us to do.
I think my lady went home with German Charles. She is very well versed in the deep throating.
All right, shut it down. That's it.
Unless you guys have any other comments.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for your
That's
questions.
not what you were talking about? Not right. Okay.
Oh boy. We earned the explicit tag this week, huh?
We need to.
Well,
we need to
it
have
depends on what survives the edit.
This is true. Nobody listens to this part of the show. It's been proven. We have the statistic.
Daryl, you and I need to sit down and just have an interview for the Christmas special. Just you and me, just asking random questions.
We might be able to make it happen.
Good night, Internet. Bye, Internet.
All right. So that's it for feedback, I guess.
Mark. Yes, that's it for feedback this week. Charles, take us home, buddy.
All right. Thank you to Robin and Dr. Pants for your voicemails. We always appreciate those, getting those sent in. So yeah, that brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks again, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I went on a double date, and Charles went home with both of them. Goodbye.
Later.
Thanks for listening to Transmissions. Remember, you can help support the show by donating to us directly via Patreon or PayPal. Once you become a donor, you will receive access to donor-only goodies, like donor-only contests, listening to us record transmissions live, and getting transmissions swag at 20% off. You can find links for this at transmissionspodcast.com/support. Subscribing to us on Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play is also a great way to support us here at Transmissions. Every subscription we get helps us get better noticed on those services. Leaving us a comment and 5-star review doesn't hurt either. Be sure to come chat with us on Discord. You will find a link for Discord at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. And of course, you can always send us an email at feedback@transmissionspodcast.com. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.